Good afternoon. Welcome to the Kenorland Minerals webinar. Kenorland recently completed a reverse takeover transaction through Northway Resources and listed on the TSX Venture Exchange yesterday with the ticker KLD. The company is exploring several projects in Quebec and Alaska and recently closed a $10 million brokered private placement to fund drilling and exploration on those assets this year. Joining us is Zach Flood, who's the CEO of Kenorland Minerals. Zach will take us through the presentation and followed by a question and answer period at the end. Before we begin, I'll note that the presentation may contain some forward-looking statements and disclosures can be viewed on the company's website. So congratulations, Zach, on the new listing and completing the private placement. Looking forward to this presentation.
Thanks everyone for joining today. Got a pretty interesting presentation here on Kenorland Minerals. It's a company we started 4 years ago in 2016. There's going to be forward-looking statements, as Tina mentioned, coming from a geologist. This is, we'll start here with kind of the high-level management and board. As I mentioned, we started the company in 2016. There was kind of four of us who were co-founders. We're all geologists by trade. So myself and Francis McDonald, Scott Smits, and Dave Stevenson. The rest of the board, aside from myself, includes Rick Trotman. He's CEO of Barksdale Resources, was previously with Resource Capital Funds. Jamie Levy is currently the president and CEO of Generation Mining. Jay Suger is a well-known securities lawyer based here in Vancouver, involved in a few different public resource companies. And Jessica Van Den Acker is the CFO of Core Mining. Peter Meredith was a longtime director with Kenorland since the inception in 2016, and he remains as an advisor to the company. He's currently on the board of Ivanhoe Mines and has been working in the Ivanhoe Group for a very long time. So yeah, who's Kenorland Minerals and why do I think that this is an exciting company? I think we have all the pieces here for success. We'll start with the team. As I mentioned, we're a strongly technical team. We have a lot of experience globally. Two of the co-founders spent much of their career with Newmont. Francis was doing a lot of regional exploration in East and West Africa. Scott Smits was doing project evaluation, business development in North America with Newmont, and Dave Stevenson, the other co-founder, was at the Center of Exploration Targeting down at University of Western Australia, working on a postdoc in structural geophysics. So we all come from different backgrounds. I was in the Ivanhoe Group for a long time, doing business evaluation or business development and project evaluation, as well as project generation. So I've seen a lot of projects globally in different types of mineral systems as well, different stages from early grassroots all the way through to feasibility. Our vision here is really to become a leader in the mineral exploration space. When we started the company in 2016, we noticed there's a severe lack of attention in the greenfield space, and part of that is just a lack of funding. So when we started the company, we focused on more of a project generation model. That's sort of shifted since then. But the reason for focusing in greenfields is really we think this is where you can make new discoveries. And so we are focusing on the earlier stage of the spectrum, but there's a way to kind of mitigate some of that risk. One being geologic risk. So we like to focus in proven mineral districts, look in areas with low exploration maturity, in areas we think haven't been explored heavily, because if it's sticking out of the ground, it's probably been found already. And part of the approach is acquiring very large land positions and exploring these systematically. Another way to mitigate risk is to farm out some of the earlier stage projects and let partners fund that work. So we do that on a number of our projects. We have two projects which are under option to Sumitomo Metal Mining, and one with Newmont Corporation. We're, in terms of delivery, now today, 4 years after we started this, 4.5 years, we're well funded. We have over 9.5 million cash in the treasury. We're very well positioned in terms of our mineral tenure. We hold over 400,000 hectares of claims within Alaska, Quebec, and some in Manitoba and the Thompson Nickel Belt. As I mentioned, we have these earn-in agreements with Sumitomo Metal Mining and one with Newmont Corporation. And previously, we had worked with Freeport on our Porphyry project up in Alaska. And we have kind of proven the concept here. Last year, we made a significant new discovery in the Frotet Evans Belt of Quebec. On the first pass, after 2 years of regional exploration, on the first pass drill program, we hit 29 meters at 8.5 grams, including 11 meters at 18 grams on a completely greenfields target with no previous drilling or mineral occurrences in the area. And I'll show you how we did that. So what's the opportunity going forward? Well, this year is a very exciting year. We have up to $7 million in sole funded exploration planned, with an additional up to $5 million in partner funded exploration. So that's a total of 12 million. That's kind of focusing on 3 of our main projects. So we have the Frotet. We're drilling 3 discovery stage projects: the Frotet project in Quebec, the Healy project in Alaska, which is a gold project, and the Tanacross project in Alaska, which is a porphyry copper gold asset. We also have a pipeline of additional projects being advanced through systematic exploration, and we'll talk about these a little bit. And most of those are located in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt in Quebec. And on top of that, we have a dedicated team who's continually, looking for the next opportunities, generating more projects and ideas, and evaluating other assets. So we like to keep the pipeline full. There's no guarantees in exploration, but as long as we're out there continuing to churn through this ground in a systematic manner, that'll give us the best chance of making more discoveries. So just to touch here on the share structure, there's 45 million shares out basic, 55.4 million dilute, or 55.5 million shares fully diluted. As I mentioned, we have our current cash position is about $9.5 million. We have about 700,000 in equity interest in other companies just through deals we've done over the last few years. Our estimated G&A is about 1.3 million per year, but we are also bringing in revenue through management fees. So in 2021, we expect to bring in about 780,000 in revenue, which pays for about half of the G&A. In terms of the share ownership structure, you can see here, 51% is owned by management and insiders. Institutional ownership, which includes CIDEX, the Quebec institutional funds, including CIDEX, FTQ, SDBJ, as well as Commodity Capital and Exploration Capital Partners Limited, which is a fund under the Sprott umbrella, own a total of 11%. Close associates own 15%. This includes other large shareholders like Paul Stevens owns just under 4% from Stevens Investment Management in San Francisco, and Peter Meredith owns just over 4%. John Tognetti is our largest individual shareholder. He falls within that management and insiders, and he owns approximately 20%. So the top 20 shareholders own 74%, and the top 10 own 64%. So we've kept the structure extremely tight. We've been pretty frugal over the past 4 years and managed that dilution really well. And I think it shows in our share structure there. So now just to dive into the projects, I'll talk about our main assets. The Healy Project up here in Alaska, option from Newmont. The Tanacross Project also in Alaska, that's 100% owned. In Quebec, we have the Frotet Project and the Frotet Evans Belt, and then we've got 4 kind of projects in the pipeline. So Chikobi also option to Sumitomo. Shabistawan is a very large greenfields project in northern Abitibi, option to Newmont, and then we have 2 100% owned projects in the Abitibi, O'Sullivan, and Hunter. And we like to focus on these areas. They're very politically stable jurisdictions and extremely well endowed in terms of gold and copper endowment. So here's a map of Quebec. This is the Abitibi Greenstone Belt and the Frotet Evans Greenstone Belt just to the north of it. I'll start with the Frotet project. I won't talk about these pipeline projects. Just we'll focus on the discovery at Frotet here. But this is just to show you on the map. This is the Shabistawan project in the northern Abitibi, covering about 100 kilometers of a major deformation zone up there. Option to Newmont. I'll talk about what we did there at the end. And then O'Sullivan, it's adjacent to Cartier's Pustika or Bemois project, kind of in the central Abitibi. And then also down here, the Jacoby project, which is option to Sumitomo, is along the Jacoby deformation zone, which is getting a little more attention as Amex has had a lot of success out here at Perron. And this is a heavily underexplored deformation zone in the Abitibi. And then the Hunter project covers the felsic caldera complex just north of Du Parquet there in the southern Abitibi. So I really want to I'll just walk you through the Frotet project, the discovery at Regnault, and how we made it. I think this is a good example of our approach to exploration. So in 2017, we recognized that there was a large amount of greenstone open in the Frotet belt. There's one deposit up here called the Troilus deposit. It's got currently it's got about 4.3 million ounces. There's been about 2 point something million ounces produced. So it's around 7 million ounce endowment. And we figured if there's a 7 million ounce gold deposit in the belt, there's probably another multi-million ounce deposit somewhere else, statistically, maybe at least one other one. And so we staked as much of the belt as we could in 2017 and 2018. We optioned this to Sumitomo, and we proceeded to cover the entire property with systematic till sampling. These are 1.5 kilometer spaced lines. It's about 40 kilometers from end to end. So it's a very large land package. And some areas we noticed had decent gold anomalism. So in 2019, we did this. We followed up and did infill sampling, and the Regnault target really stuck out as something special down there. And 2020, we optioned to purchase this ground from O3. We continued till sampling to the south of Regnault. And now what we're looking at here is a very significant dispersion plume and gold anomalism in the till. We followed up with in 2019 with boulder prospecting, found boulders up to 400 grams per ton. Went in, did a lot of detailed geophysics, including tight space drone mag and wide spaced IP, and put about 7,800 meters of drilling into the northern area across about 2 kilometers of strike. We're calling the Regnault Discovery area. And we're very successful on that first pass drill program. On the second hole of the program, we hit just over 3 meters at 16 grams per ton. And on the seventh hole, we hit 29.08 meters at 8.47 grams per ton. And quite a few other hits in various orientations are on structures that line various other orientations. And now we have also to the south of the discovery area, we've recognized really high tenor gold in till as well as boulders, and the geophysical signature seems to continue. So even though we've only drilled maybe 2 kilometers of strike, this year we'll be focusing on the rest of the trend. And I think in total, we're looking at about 4.7 kilometers of anomalism here. So this system has potential to grow much larger. Just to look at the first pass drilling here, again, top to bottom, it's about 2 kilometers of strike here. The second hole here hit 3.75 meters at 16 grams. The seventh hole was right here, 29 meters at 8.5 grams. Another drill hole over here, 21A, hit 2.66 meters at 33 grams. And this is all first pass drilling, totally blind targets. There's no outcrop here at all. It's completely concealed under cover. And we're targeting mainly, shallow chargeability anomalies and contrast in the magnetics. So this is what the drill core looks like from that hole 007. We're looking at a quartz vein system hosted in a diorite intrusive complex. The quartz veins carry very high grade gold, 44 grams, 49 grams, 50 grams, 27. You can see some of the numbers there. Very elevated gold in the quartz veining. And we also see disseminated mineralization in a broad halo around the quartz veins as well. And so the gold's hosted mainly in pyrite, disseminated pyrite and coarse pyrite in the quartz veins. and occasionally visible gold as well. So yeah, that was the first pass reconnaissance drill program on a completely greenfields target. So there's no previous mineral occurrences here. There's no previous drilling. We hit significant mineralization in 14 out of the initial 23 holes. It was a completely blind discovery. In terms of the deal, so Sumitomo spent over $4.3 million. They have earned a 65% interest to date, and they have elected to proceed to phase 2, which will earn them up to 80%. And that's including the approved budget that we have this year for $3.8 million. And that includes a 125 line kilometer IP survey that's going to cover that entire Regnault south to the Regnault discovery area with 50 meter space lines in the top and at the discovery area and 100 meter space lines in the south. And then approximately 9,000 meters of drilling in March and April. And at 80-20, a joint venture is formed, co-funding begins, and if any parties dilute below 10%, the interest converts to a 2% uncapped NSR. So that's it for Frotet. I'm not going to go into detail on the pipeline projects, but we're applying the same approach on the rest of these in the Abitibi Greenstone. So I'll jump over to Alaska now. These projects are advanced in the summer field season. We have the Tanacross Project here, which is 100% owned, and the Healy Project, which is in the Goodpaster district, which hosts Pogo, which is a 10 million ounce gold system there. First, I'm going to talk about the Tanacross Project. I'm going to get a little technical. There's a few kind of regional slides here, but I want to show you why we are exploring here in terms of that geologic risk. I think this is really important. If there's another large porphyry copper system in the Yukon-Tana terrain, there's a good chance that we're looking at it at Tanacross. Casino, mind you, is a 3 billion ton system. It's undeveloped, but it's a very large porphyry copper system. It's a late Cretaceous system. It's about 73 million years old, which is the same age as the mineralization and intrusions we have at Tanacross. In terms of the setting of Casino, so it sits along the Big Creek Fault system, which controls other mineral systems as well in the Yukon-Tana, and it's at the intersection with the Dip Creek Fault. So the cross section, or the intersection of these arc parallel and arc perpendicular structures are very important for the emplacement of large porphyry systems, and you see this globally, including in the Andes in South America. And that Big Creek Fault system comes up through Alaska. And there's the next large cross origin structure is the 60-mile Pika Fault. And so we're sitting right there kind of at the intersection. The pink here is the intrusive, the Cretaceous intrusive batholith or batholiths, or the arc that comes up through the Yukon-Tana terrain. And here's a just quick image of the magnetics. So you can see this in the magnetics, the fabric of the Yukon-Tana terrain. You see the Big Creek Fault system and these cross origin structures. And there's a large magnetic complex here as well. This data is the upward continued mag data. So you're looking about 10 kilometers deep. This is kind of showing you what's maybe deeper down. Is there a big oxidized batholith? These are usually kind of key to be to the key drivers of productive porphyry systems coming off a large buried batholith. And we see that at the Tanacross Project. And on the right here, the top right, that's Pebble. It sits right off the edge of the Kaskanak batholith. And Pebble obviously is one of the world's largest undeveloped porphyry copper systems in Southeast Alaska there. What else drew our attention to this area was the regional stream geochemistry. So there's an obvious cluster of copper and streams from the regional data, public data you have in Alaska. And you can see Casino sits around a regional stream anomaly in the Yukon there. So that's the large scale, which we always look at first. When you get into the property scale, it's equally as impressive. There's over 30 square kilometers of hydrothermal alteration. There's 3 known porphyry systems, East Taurus, West Taurus, and Bluff. The best drilling has been at East Taurus, where historically there's been 239 meters of 0.3 copper, 0.23 grams per ton gold, and 0.036 moly, which is kind of over 0.6 copper equivalent. Drilled at East Taurus so those are some decent gold grades there. And that alteration footprint's really important because big porphyry systems should have big footprints. This is the Taurus Bluff compared with Oye-Tolgoi at the same scale, and Bore and Butte as well in Montana. And the Casino deposit outline there is in red, so you could easily fit one of those within this. So Freeport was up here. They funded US $5 million from 2018 to 2019. They terminated the agreement around March when the market collapsed due to the COVID pandemic, and we got the project back 100%. We did do some drilling around East Taurus and West Taurus. We also completed regional ridge and spur soil sampling and a property-wide Z-time survey, which was really key, I think, in driving this forward. And we did not follow up on any regional targets, and that's really going to be our focus this year. So these are just some photos of rocks. There is a porphyry system or systems here at East Taurus, West Taurus, and Bluff. In terms of the regional target areas, so here on the bottom left, you see this is the regional data set for ridge and spur soils. One area that we will follow up on in the future is the Big Creek anomaly. It's got a soil anomaly footprint about the same size as East Taurus and West Taurus. There's grab samples up to 1.7% copper and 0.68 grams per ton gold there, and there's no previous drilling. So there's a great opportunity for making a new greenfields discovery on this target. But we're going to be focusing more on the South Taurus anomaly, which is a large magnetic high with a halo of conductivity around it. And the conductivity is associated with hydrothermal alteration. And I'll get into a couple more slides why this is important. So this is a map of the Z-TEM here, 180 hertz, looking maybe kind of 300 to 500 meters deep. You have this halo of conductivity of East Taurus sitting off to the just to the north of it, and West Taurus sitting off to the northwest of it. And that ring of conductivity surrounds a magnetic high. And this is important because a large porphyry system will give you a large footprint. It should give you a large footprint geophysically because you're altering a large volume of rocks with hydrothermal fluids, and it alters the rock to clay and pyrite, and that will show up in the EM as conductive. And this is Pebble here on the right-hand side, top right at the same scale. And you see the same signature at Pebble, a large conductivity halo around Pebble West there. And a cross-section through the South Taurus anomaly here shows a large, deep contrast between resistivity and conductivity, which could be marking a large structure because porphyry systems also like to come up along big structures. And you see that at Pebble, which is that image here at the bottom. Large contrast between resistivity and conductivity marks that ZG1 fault where the Pebble deposit comes up. And just to hammer this home a little more, this is actually a regional Z-TEM data set, also available in the public domain, over top of or covering the entire Pebble area. And you can see from a very large scale that you can easily identify an area where Pebble came up. I mean, it's a massive deposit and obviously a massive footprint there. So these conductivity features are maybe marking deep faults, but also the alteration around the system. And we have a very similar scale signature at South Taurus. Not only that, but when you look at the lower frequency data at 30 hertz, it really lights up, and this is down to around 2 kilometers, and it gets rid of all the shallow features, and really this is why you fly large-scale geophysical surveys, is to kind of filter out all the noise and focus in the area where you think you have the most hydrothermal fluids. And so this is the plan going forward, which will begin in June and will carry on through September of the summer. First, we'll begin with drone mag and soil sampling and mapping around South Taurus. We'll do some step-out drilling at East Taurus because that system is still open. And then we're going to carry out 2 large kind of 5-kilometer each lines of Titan IP, which is very deep-seeing IP. And we'll be drill testing, having the initial drill test at South Taurus. And none of this is exposed at South Taurus. There's very deep soil development here. This area has not been glaciated. So without bedrock, it's not surprising that previous explorers hadn't really focused here. So going back to the map of Alaska here, the last project I'll talk about is Healy up here in the Goodpaster district, and we have optioned this from Newmont. Here is a claim map of the Goodpaster. The Healy project covers about 18,470 hectares. Newmont first identified this in 2010 and carried out through regional stream sediment sampling across all of eastern Alaska and the Yukon-Tana terrain. They did about 2 years of regional stream sediment sampling with their their Blake technique. And there was a cluster of stream catchments that were anomalous in gold here. So they suspected there could be a gold system. They staked the ground and they carried out ridge and spur soil sampling and wide space soil sampling and identified some significant gold, arsenic, antimony anomalies. And in 2013, they kind of shelved the project. We came in 2018, optioned it from them. And the deal is US $4 million in the ground over 4 years, turned 70%. And we've spent approximately 1 million of that. Just a broad look at I guess just to go back here. So Pogo's up here. It's about 30 miles away from our property. It's a 10 million ounce endowment. It's currently operated by Northern Star. The ground around that's held by Mill Rock and Resolution Minerals. And then Tectonic Metals is just to the north of us. And in the pale yellow there, that's the Doyon Corporation. So this claim, in terms of the regional geology, the claim package kind of covers or straddles this regional contact between the Cretaceous intrusives and the Ogden Gneiss dome, as some call it, in the Goodpaster district, and that seems to be an area where most of the mineralization is focused in the Goodpaster. So Pogo sits near that contact, so does Tibbs. So that's an important feature. This is just briefly looking at the catchments that from the Blake sampling that Newmont did. Obviously, we don't have the entire data set, but we've clipped it to the project. And there is a cluster of catchments here that were anomalous in gold. So this is really what drew their attention to this area. And there's no previous mineral occurrences here, and there's no previous work that was filed with the state of Alaska. So this is, again, opportunity for a completely new discovery. And so this is the entire property showing the soil sampling, the ridge and spur, as well as the wide space soil sampling Newmont did, as well as the infill soil sampling that we did. And there's really well-defined kind of 2 kilometer to 1 kilometer to 2 kilometer golden soil anomalies following some structural lineaments. So zooming in here, again, these are the main areas we're looking at: Thor, Bronc, and Spike. We did go in there in 2019 without any detailed soils or geophysics, with a track-mounted RC rig just to get some holes into the bedrock to see what the mineralization looked like. We intersected 49 meters at 0.42 grams per ton. It was mineralized top to bottom. We only drilled a total of 800 meters over 10 shallow holes. So it was really scout drilling. But there was widespread mineralization in the bedrock. So we felt it was definitely warranted going in there and doing a lot of detailed surface work. So last year we completed this infill soil sampling. We also completed detailed ground magnetics and VLF. So you can see here, this has mapped out the structures very well. So we do believe this is structurally controlled gold mineralization. You have these low angle thrust faults over here and high angle shearing as well, and gold anomalism associated with both of them. And so the red lines here are the IP profiles that we did last year as well. And the blue is going to be kind of the proposed drilling. So again, a very systematic test of this new gold system. This will be diamond drilling, the first diamond drill holes to go into this new system. And I think after this, we'll definitely know what's going on here. And this is an example of the Bronx zone. So from the IP profiles we did last year, again, these are proposed holes. But we're looking at, up to over 30 millisecond chargeability anomalies. And again, the gold here is associated with disseminated pyrite so far that we've seen. So we think that IP could be an effective way to target mineralization. And again, going back to the footprint, because the footprint is important. Big systems have big footprints normally. And this is the Healy golden soils on the left. This is all public data. This is the coffee at the same scale with the same cutoffs. Coffee in the Yukon, owned by Newmont, just under 3 million ounces. That's what the soil anomaly looks like there. And on the right-hand side, within this small white circle, is golden sol. That's about 1.6 million ounces. So it's definitely got some scale. It's completely new, so no one's recognized this gold system prior to Newmont showing up. It's got a very large-scale geochemical footprint, and we know that there's widespread gold mineralization in bedrock. And so now it's a matter of going in there and testing all these targets and really seeing what's there. So that's it. I'll just walk through again the timeline here. This month, we're starting this big 3D IP survey at Frotet in Quebec with Sumitomo, and that'll end about mid-February. We'll start drilling there early March, and we'll drill for about 2 months. So assays will come out around April, May into June. And that'll take us into the summer programs up in Alaska. At Healy, we have about 4,000 meters planned. That drill program will go about June, July into August. And again, assays expected maybe mid-July through September. And at the same time we start drilling up at Healy, we'll be doing the surface work at Tanacross. So that's the grid mapping and XRF surface sampling and the drone magnetics and Titan IP survey in June and July. And then the drill will move, once we wrap up at Healy, over to Tanacross and test those step outs at East Taurus and the South Taurus anomaly mid-August through to September. And we should have assays coming out October and November. So a lot to look forward to this year. 3 projects being drill tested in 2021. Focusing on Frotet in Quebec, Healy in Alaska, Tanacross in Alaska, up to 12 million of planned expenditures, including 5 million partner funded. And again, we have this pipeline of additional projects that we're advancing through systematic exploration. All right, that's where I'd like to leave it.
Thanks, Zach, for the presentation. Obviously a lot on the go, so it's pretty exciting. We'll open up the discussion to question and answer period. So if you have any questions, you can input them into the dialog box below or email me at tina@adcap.ca. So why don't we start off, we'll go back to Frotet. Obviously it's a greenfield project, but not the only project in the area. So can you maybe talk about how some of the other land packages and assets have kind of guided your program so far?
Sorry, just in the Frotet belt or in Quebec in general?
I'd say specifically in Frotet.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're still advancing some regional targets. Obviously, Regnault is the focus here. It's definitely the dominant target in the land package, and it's a very significant new discovery. But we are advancing other targets. There's this area up here called Cretaceous, which is just along strike, or it's along trend of the Troilus system. Or the Troilus trend, I should say. Troilus Gold has had success kind of stepping out, drilling just to the north of us there, and Urban Gold is the other major landholder in the belt, and they've been having some success just to the south. So we sort of tie right in between those two, and that target's definitely worthy for follow-up. So we'll be probably doing work there next summer to generate more drill targets. But those are really the main focuses of what we're doing in the Frotet belt there.
And in terms of your relationship with Sumitomo, so how much of the program is Kenorland's guidance versus Sumitomo's? When they get 80%, will it be, or I guess expected to be at 80%, will they be controlling most of that drill program?
We're expecting to remain the operator throughout the exploration kind of phase. Perhaps not if it ends up in the engineering sort of phase. I'm not sure how involved we'll be, but certainly in the exploration and advanced exploration, I foresee us remaining operator. And in terms of who's guiding the project, we work very closely with Sumitomo. They're extremely capable technical geologists. Aichi Fukuda, who is kind of my counterpart there, was on the discovery team at Pogo with Moira Smith. So they found that through this similar regional or systematic process. So they went from stream sampling to soil sampling to the first discovery hole at Pogo. So he understands exploration very well. I think that's why they've supported us up to this point, and yeah, they're very familiar with high-grade gold systems. They operate the Hishikari mine as well in Japan. So, we really enjoy working with Sumitomo. They're a great partner.
And in terms of the drill program that you have set, do you have an indication of how many meters will be drilled on Regnault versus some of the other targets?
We don't have any additional meters planned this winter. We're going to be focusing solely on the Regnault target area with about 9,000 meters there. If the program's successful here, then there's a high chance that we'll increase the drill meterage for 2021 and carry on through the summer.
And do you have a good sense in terms of continuity of Regnault and based on what you've drilled so far?
No, that's every target that we tested there to date has been kind of a single shallow chargeability anomaly. So this again was the very first pass. This next drill program, we will be stepping out. We'll be testing more of the continuity on some of these hits, and of course we'll also be testing more of the regional potential. So it's very early days. There's been a total of just over kind of 8,000 meters into the target. So that's very early days. And so the 9,000 would take us to about 17,000 meters, but I still think you need upwards of kind of 50,000 plus 50 to 100,000 meters before you really know what you're looking at.
And are you drilling the similar depths? Or are you going a little bit deeper to see what else is potentially on those targets?
It's some targets, like we were kind of handcuffed to the lakeshore. This winter we'll be drilling on the ice, so it'll be easier to reach some of the targets, so we won't have to drill as deep. Some of the holes on land are shallower because we can position the rig closer to the anomaly. So it'll be, again, a combination. We've got 9,000 meters. We're going to put about 3,000 meters probably up here in the Regnault target area on the lake. Another 3,000 meters kind of in this general area just to the south, in the southern part of the Regnault Discovery area. And then another 3,000 meters will be dedicated to regional targets along the trend there.
Okay, and what's the cost per meter that you're seeing right now, and any sense of how backed up the labs are?
We're drilling, I think, all in for about $220 per meter. We've built a camp here now as well. We've got NACO camp that can house about 40 people. In terms of the labs, we are one of BV's largest customers, so I think we get special treatment from them, thankfully, because we've been sending them so many soil samples and till samples and hopefully now drill core samples. But that does help us with turnarounds.
Okay. And shifting over to Tanacross a little bit, some of the intersections that you've seen have been pretty long. It seems like a very different geological structure to what you're seeing in Quebec. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, this is a porphyry copper gold system, so it's a completely different beast. Yeah, this is not an orogenic gold kind of system at all. This is a different type of system. Obviously, you expect bigger, larger intervals in a porphyry system.
Right, and then so can you just go over your plan for drilling at Tanacross?
Yeah, so again, there's kind of two areas. We're not launching an extremely aggressive program here, but we're definitely advancing the project significantly. So East Taurus, which has the most historical drilling you could see here, is still wide open to the west. So we're going to do a little bit of step out drilling there. Some of the best soil geochemistry has never been tested out to the west. So maybe a couple holes into East Taurus, and then probably put 2 or 3 holes into South Taurus on our best anomalies there. And those holes into South Taurus are really just to get a flavor of what we're dealing with. Is this actually a porphyry system, you know, with a big QSP quartzerosite pyrite halo around it? You know, from the surface work we've done, there's certainly alteration around here. But I think we do need some better subsurface data. So I think we're just going to get in there and see what that looks like, and then we can plan from there. Okay,
great. And at the start of the presentation, you mentioned kind of the project generator model. You highlighted 3 of the assets, but obviously you have more projects within the company. So can you talk a bit about your strategy for some of those assets going forward?
Absolutely, yeah. So we're not strictly a project generator, but sometimes it makes sense to option a project out. For instance, the Jacoby project here, which is optioned to Sumitomo, requires drilling with sonic drilling beneath a layer of glacial clay, basically like lake sediments, to get down to the till. So the only way you can do systematic geochemical exploration in the central Abitibi, which is a very large area of very prospective rocks, you have to, it's more expensive. It's about an order of magnitude more expensive than collecting soil samples on the surface like you would at Frotet. So that's, it's more of a long game. It's more expensive. It's probably better suited to a major that has, cash flow from its other projects, and that they could put that back into exploration. So Jacoby made a lot of sense to option out. Shabistawan as well. The first pass soil program we did there was about $700,000 in the fall, and we just got results back sort of at the end of the year. And that was 5,000 samples covering about 160,000 hectares of ground. So again, these are big systematic programs. They do cost money. They take a couple of years to get up to drill targets. So we like the optionality of obviously the potential, the discovery potential, but it makes sense to partner some of them out. The Hunter project here is also an area of very deep till cover where we'll need to be drilling with sonic as well. So it's not something we really want to take on ourselves. We're really focusing our own capital on testing more near-term targets that we're looking at, like Healy and Tanacross, where you're right at that drill stage, that discovery stage, where you're going to get the most leverage if you hit something. But again, I think it's all about keeping your options open. Some things make sense to move forward with a partner. Other targets, if you're staring at them, then they could be worth testing ourselves if it makes sense, from the geologic perspective as well as the footprints.
So are you already having some discussions in terms of strategic assets here with other majors or some of the non?
Yeah, we're always talking. We're always in showing the projects, the opportunities to potential partners, and keeping those avenues open, those discussions open. There's a lot of ground we have to move forward, and if we were to try to do it all ourselves, I think we might be a little stretched a bit thin. So 400,000 hectares is a lot of ground. We don't want to just sit on something and not move it forward. So again, the name of the game is just to get in there and get the work done, and do things systematically. And some projects might not generate quality anomalies, and you may never even get to the drill stage. But the important thing is just keep moving through ground and sampling it and testing new ideas.
And going back to the financial side of things, there's a question from the audience about your cash balance. So maybe you want to talk about the recent financing and how long you're expecting that cash to last.
Yeah, so again, we raised $10 million on the RTO financing at $1 per share. And currently we've got about 9.5 million in the treasury. We're planning on spending up to 7 million sole funded exploration, but we're also bringing in, 780,000. That doesn't include any management fees that we get from a summer drill program that could happen in Frotet as well. So as long as we can keep those management fees coming in, they cover a large portion of our G&A, and yeah, we should continue to be, well financed, I think, going forward, as long as the results are good coming out of the projects. But yeah, we could look at potentially another, flow through financing if we're putting money into the ground ourselves in Quebec, but we don't have any plans currently for that. We're in a pretty good position.
And you have a decent shareholder base already. Can you kind of talk about how much investment was brought into the company prior to this financing round?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the last 4 years, we've operated on kind of a shoestring budget almost. We started the company with no projects. We went to John Tognetti to get our initial seed financing, get the company going. So he supported in every round. Even the last financing that was done at $1, he maintained his ownership pro rata with a very significant investment. Up until that point, we had raised about only $3 million through private placements. So, and we were almost cash flow neutral. We, over the last 4 years, we brought in $3 million through cash management fees and share payments. And that's how we've been able to maintain a really tight share structure and minimize dilution. We leveraged that into about $15 million of partner funded exploration in the ground. So we were definitely advancing projects, but just not with our own dollars most of the time.
Okay, great. So why don't we leave it there, and I'll let you summarize the value proposition and kind of what investors can look forward to in 2021.
Yeah, I think that last slide, really explains it well. I'll just go to that one just to remind everyone the timeline. So the value proposition here is as exploration and discovery. We've got a lot of shots at net here on really good assets in good jurisdictions with great geology. Big footprints, and I think between the Frotet, Healy, and Tanacross project, there's multiple opportunities for large-scale discoveries. Obviously, Frotet is kind of proof of concept and more advanced, so we de-risk that, you know. But and Healy is Healy, if we get good drill results out of that, then that becomes, you know, another significant discovery in a very significant district as well. So it's yeah, I think there's no shortage of excitement and activity to look forward to. This year, 2021, is going to be a really critical year for us with a lot of upside.
Well, thanks for the presentation and congratulations on the new listing, and looking forward to seeing some drilling from Kenorland in the near term.
Thank you very much, Keith. Thanks everyone for listening, and if anyone has any questions, please reach out.